Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of Cautious Coffee. My name is DeRae Crane, here with my co-host, Austin Staton.
You sound so good right now.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I love it.
I've been working on my voice, hydrating, drinking honey.
Smart.
I think Mariah Carey used to do that, trying the same methods.
If we can have half the success, even a quarter, a fraction of the success as Mariah Carey, we're in a good spot.
You know, fair enough. I'm just here because I'm having fun with you, bud.
I like it.
That's it. So today's episode, what we're talking about, lucky number 7. Episode is luck. So Austin, do you feel lucky?
You know, I'm not Clint Eastwood, but I think I've had a little bit of luck in life. I think that there are some things that I have no control over that have happened in my life. You know, where I was born, who my parents were, being born in this country. But I think I've definitely gotten a few breaks that have gone my way in life. So yeah, I mean, I would say overall, the fact that we're sitting here in America, in a free country, I think we're inherently lucky.
I have to agree with you. Warren Buffett talks about the ovarian lottery. So when you're talking about being born in America, like what better country to be born in than here, where it's land of vast opportunity.
Right. I mean, and it's changing incredibly. You know, especially it's one of the youngest countries in the world, right? It's, you know, under 300 years old, but it's evolved so much within the last 100 years. And we had the incredible opportunity to be here, be educated here. I mean, that's 100% luck.
So how much of your success in your professional career, would you sum up to luck? Let me digress.
Yeah.
So when I say luck, I don't mean that.
Do you want to define these first? Like,
well, that I know that you work hard, you're extremely talented, you're dedicated, you sacrifice, you put in the time, the energy, the effort. But you can do all that and still not get a break.
You're 100% right. I mean, I think you can do everything you can to create your own opportunity. And I think that puts you in the position to create your own luck, but you have no control necessarily of luck and how things break, right? So you can work as hard as you can, whether that's in school, whether that's at your job, and things just might not break your way. I mean, there could be someone else that's more talented. There could be somebody that's more well-connected. You could just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, things like that happen. I would say overall in my professional career, I think I've had a bit of luck. Sometimes it's having that right recruiter find your resume, 11 years ago on a website called RigZone. I was a guy that was coming out of sports, had no idea what I wanted to do, in the corporate world. I had no idea if I was going to be in the corporate world. And I put my resume on rigzone.com, and somebody called me about a contract position, ended up getting the job there, and this whole process started 2011, got hired on 2012 as a contractor, 2013 went full-time. But that was luck. I mean, I had no control over that particular recruiter finding something in my resume or seeing my resume. If he wouldn't have seen it, who knows what would have happened at that time. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think luck is involved in those situations.
But your role in it was that you put that resume on RigZone. You had some.
You know why I put it on RigZone?
You showed up.
You know why I put it on RigZone?
You're desperate?
No. I was, so at this time, just for context, yeah, I was desperate for a job at the time. But I was working in sports, and I was doing freelance high school sports writing and broadcasting, and I was coming back from I don't know if it was like a high school football or basketball game, and I was listening to sports talk radio, and I heard an ad for RigZone. So when I got home, I decided, let's go ahead and drop my resume on RigZone and see what happens. Mm-hmm. So happened to be in the car, hear the ad, put it on. I don't know, it's just weird how things work out.
Action. I can appreciate that, and your willingness to, observe that there were some things in there that you didn't really have any control over, but I can also appreciate the fact that you took action and pressed the issue, as it were.
So what about you? We want to focus this episode on chance, luck, and opportunity, And again, we had Justin Cade on the podcast as well. Justin is a good friend of the show. He's a supporter on Patreon, and I think he's going to hopefully be a regular contributor to Cautious Coffee moving forward. He's got some great ideas. So stay tuned to cautiouscoffe.com for all of the details on that. But chance, luck, and opportunity. How do we define those? Like how do we separate those? Are they all the same? Are they a little bit different? Do they have similarities?
I don't want to get too bogged down with that. I'm throwing it all in the same boat. We chatted about that earlier because there are just some things that we didn't have any control over. We showed up and we were presented with certain opportunities, and we had certain chances, and we made certain decisions. And then that's that. That's a life. For me, I can say that I was lucky, even though I was born poor and black in a small city of Davenport, Iowa. Boxing being my savior and my ability to hold on to boxing, though, like just being wired a certain way. If that boxing gym wasn't 7 blocks from my house, I doubt I would have stayed with it for as long as I did.
And then it's a slippery slope. Like, because of boxing, you did this. Because of that, you did this. So it's like, if it wasn't because of boxing, where is DeRae's life right now?
No idea. That's the thing. Boxing opened up so many doors for me. Boxing separates me from the majority of people that I come into contact with, and it puts me in a certain mindset and has wired me a certain way to allow me to succeed, in certain areas where others may not. But I can be aware and accept that if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have stayed with boxing, and I wouldn't have had a lot of the doors open up for me. I just wouldn't be here now where I am, sitting in Houston, Texas on a podcast with someone I met working
less than 2 years ago,
working in energy. I don't see it happening.
I mean, that's a bit of chance right there, right? I mean, that we happen to be working the same team.
That's chance. Okay. That's I can see that.
But I mean, you think about your path. Like, if you don't go the boxing route,
I don't get a full ride scholarship to go to college.
You might not end up where we met. If I hadn't started working in sports in college, there's no way that I would have ended up, because I wouldn't have taken a career in communications. That just wasn't in the cards. Like, I didn't even know careers in communications existed. So yeah, I don't know. It's all mind blowing to me. And this is, I don't know.
Let me share a little bit more of that story about boxing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't get that scholarship, but that scholarship came about because I basically loaded up my car after I graduated high school. I had applied to all the Iowa schools, Iowa State, Iowa, University of Northern Iowa, and then Northern Michigan University, because they had the Olympic Education Center. They had a boxing team coached by Al Mitchell, who was my longtime coach and mentor, and I showed up at his doorstep, basically. My godmother and my father dropped me off at college thinking, hey, DeRae's, he filled out the FAFSA. He's going to take out some loans to pay for school. And I did fill out the FAFSA, but I didn't take out any loans. I'm thinking I'm going to, show up and talk to Al and see if we can work something out. And that's what I did. I met with him for, probably 4 or 5 hours one particular day. And luckily I was in shape, and he gave me a tryout basically that same day. And the next day I came back after he, went and chatted with some of the folks in the office, and he offered me a full ride scholarship. So that means, my next 4 or 5 years were paid for plus a stipend, and I get to box on the best team in the country. Al Mitchell, 1996 Olympic team coach. And David Reed is one of the assistant coaches. He was a 96 Olympic gold medalist. That action, right? I took the chance.
No, you didn't. I see where you're going with taking the chance, right? But I think chance is random.
Mm-hmm.
You capitalized on an opportunity, right? Because you saw a path, right? And you went out there and you took it. You took any risk. You went out. You used your skill set. You capitalized on that opportunity that you had because of where you had set yourself up for. Now, maybe it took a little bit of luck for him to say yes and give you that scholarship, but you made the best of the opportunity. So I don't, chance is completely, I think we have to differentiate this, right? Because chance to me is something that you have absolutely no control over, right? And I think you played your cards right, and you put yourself in the best situation to win, if you will.
Yeah, I say the chance because I had no idea how that was going to turn out. Right, when my godmother and my father drove away, I'm thinking, I go back to my dorm room like, tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day I go and try to change my life forever. And it set me on a different trajectory because my father didn't graduate high school. He had got a GED, and my mother the same. So had no idea how I was going to pull that one off. And luckily, they needed athletes that had pretty good GPAs and were focused on school as opposed to just boxing, because there are a lot of inner city kids that go into that program and they just want to be world champions, not understanding there's a whole other world of professional things out there that they can get into with a college education. And I understood that. I explained that to Al, and he was interested in that. That piqued his interest. It wasn't my boxing skill set. I tell you that right now. They're much better fighters, but I had the right mix for him to allow me to come and be on that team.
Yeah, it's just wild how things work out. Like if he says no, what happens? What's next? Do you keep on going back? Is it like Rudy, that movie Rudy, where keeps on going back asking for that tryout? I mean, is that DeRae?
Man, I don't know. I can't say.
Do you think you would have backed down? Like, do you think you would have?
No, probably not. Because once he said yes, with before the end of the year, I was captain of the boxing team. So that kind of gives you an idea of, when I show up, I'm ready to put in the work, right? I'm ready to bleed, sweat, and cry, and get after what I want. And I've always been that way. So that was kind of a competitive advantage that I had over other folks. But still, if there are only so many scholarship spots, on certain teams, and you're in sports and school sports and understand how that works. So I don't know. I can't say, man. I just know I got lucky.
You see so many talented athletes from all over the world, and you hear about them coming from some small town in some small corner of the globe. And the joke has always been, like, if you can throw a 95-mile-per-hour fastball, some MLB scout is going to find you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are. But what role does effort put into this? Like, where does effort factor into this whole opportunity, chance, luck equation?
You have to give it all right? You have to have the talent. You have to put forth the effort, the time, energy, and effort, right? The dedication, the sacrifice. I think what we're making a distinction here is that you can do all that, right, and still not get that chance, right? There are people that are better rappers than Drake, better singers than Alicia Keys.
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying, these people, they're really talented. Or authorship, right? People who write really good books, but only a very small fraction of people are going to be best-selling authors, even though that book might be just as good as some of the other books that are out there.
And sometimes all it takes is the right person seeing your book at the right time. Maybe it's a New York Times or somebody from The Economist who is reviewing something. And I look at there's a distillery in Waco, Texas. It's called Balcones, and I've actually got a bottle of it behind me. But they make whiskey, and small distillery in Waco, Texas. You would never think of that being a significant place for whiskey. But it was somebody from the New York Times, probably 2012, 2013, that did a story on them. And they absolutely blew up. Now they're like a national type brand. And, I know that's, they put in the hard work. They knew they had a good product, but it took that story to really take them to that next level.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm fascinated by this. And, we were talking before recording about, careers and success, failure, how people respond to that. And there was a note that I got on an email this week, and it said that 8 out of 10 jobs that are found now are not advertised. They're the direct result of networking. And so that's you, that's me, that's the listeners out here, leveraging their network, making connections, having conversations, taking the best and the most out of every opportunity
You got to have some of that. We have Justin on the line, and Justin hired me. All the things that had to happen, the way Justin was thinking, his experiences, what he was looking for, for me to stick out, like that's luck. Like if Justin had been the same Justin, but the 10 years previous Justin, before he, was growing in his career and as a person and as a leader, he may have been looking for something else. But I understand that I was lucky enough that, he was where he was at the time. And maybe he can speak to some of this.
Yeah, Justin, I kind of do want to hear that. I mean, we've chatted about, your process with hiring DeRae and how, if I have the story correctly, the other people that were maybe along the interview process wanted to go with maybe the best candidate on paper. And if I understood you correctly, you thought DeRae had like an it factor that really couldn't be defined on paper. Is that a fair assessment?
That is. It was really the program that DeRae came in as a part of had very narrow focus of the candidates they were looking for. And he fell a little bit outside of that. And on aspects that I didn't feel were very important to hiring a successful candidate, a successful person into our team. Some had more oil related or energy related backgrounds. Some were a little newer, fresh out of the service or some of the factors like that. But in talking to DeRae and hearing kind of the story he's shared throughout the first few episodes about his perseverance, his attitude towards life, it showed me that, kind of like he just said, nothing was going to stop him from getting that scholarship. And I knew if I could get him in the door, nothing would stop him from being successful there either.
If Justin hadn't been developed in a certain way, right? He just may not been there at the time. I don't get that call. Right? It doesn't happen.
And then I get Rice doing an MBA program.
I don't know where I'm at.
We're not sitting here doing cautious coffee.
We're not sitting here doing cautious coffee. That's for sure.
It's so random when you just it literally blows my mind, figuratively, whatever you want to say, when you can pinpoint certain moments in your life in which if you would have gone one direction, you might not. Who knows? You could have ended up in the same path.
But I had nothing to do with Justin's
That's
development.
The crazy
right?
thing.
It's like
that's the crazy thing.
He had to be there, and we had to intersect. He had to something had to jump off that page, or he had to hear something that piqued his interest. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. So you have the decision piece, right? You're presented with this opportunity, and hopefully you make a good decision. Who knows at the time if it'll be a good decision? You believe it's a good decision. That's all you can do. But just giving credit to the luck that played into it, right? You can't be like, yes, I am a self-made person. And
so what about the people that put every amount of effort in and they work their asses off trying to get somewhere in life? They launch their own business. Mm-hmm. And then a pandemic happens. Yeah. And their sales drop, and then they lose their life savings. I mean, it can swing the other way. Breaks can swing either in the positive or the negative. And
absolutely.
That to me is just crazy. Like, you can do everything. You can put yourself in the right position to have the right opportunity, and then something completely out of your control changes everything.
Yeah, blows it right up. That's kind of fun, though.
Is it?
That's the fun part. I mean, for me. Because as long as I'm in one piece, we're going to regroup. We'll try it again. All right. If I'm in bits and pieces, now that's a different story. I don't get another chance.
I think some people, when they're starting their businesses, or because there's a lot of businesses that fail, right? Mm-hmm. You mentioned this early before we started podcasting, that any entrepreneur out there thinks they're going to succeed.
Oh yeah, like 7 or 8 out of 10 if you ask them, and in reality, it's like 3 out of 10.
Yeah, so 30% succeed, 70% fail. Why do they fail? Is it because of maybe they had a bunch of yes people behind them, and people were surrounding themselves with people that gave them feedback or encouragement that they thought they wanted to hear, like yes people versus an actual, trusted group, a trusted advisors that will tell you, hey, DeRae, maybe step back, maybe reevaluate this situation before moving forward.
I think that can go either way, because sometimes you can't listen to, them because they don't have that experience. It's going to be a different set of variables and circumstances for each person. I think what's more important is you have to be okay with crashing and burning, like leaving a crater.
Yeah.
And as long as you're in one piece, you dust yourself off and, all right.
I mean, it's that cliche that it's okay to fail as long as you fail forward, right? Like
Okay,
you understand where you're coming from. Like if, I don't know, diagnose what went wrong. What could you have done differently? Maybe sometimes there isn't anything you could have done differently. Sometimes there's just extenuating circumstances. Like you can't control that your business was in the line of a fire, like a fire in California.
Right.
There are things like that you just cannot control. But does that mean that your business inherently was unsuccessful? Maybe not.
Right. And it's going to come down to how you manage that situation. How you manage that adversity. That's like the true test of yourself. Seneca has a quote about, the unhappiest man being the one who hasn't faced adversity, right? Because he hasn't had a chance to test himself.
How do you overcome adversity? Like, how do you face adversity and move past it?
I try to do it with a smile.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say they face adversity with a smile.
Well, that's because of what I just said about Seneca is that, I get adversity is an opportunity to overcome something all right. I get to see what I'm made of here. All right. And then I don't ever concern myself with being validated by others. Okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So even our podcast, right? I'm not here to like blow up. I'm here because I want to be here doing it with you, and I'm really enjoying this. All right. And whatever adversities we should face along the way, more power to us.
Yeah, we definitely hope that, we're doing a good job and that people resonate with some of the things we're saying. And who knows, maybe we do 100 episodes and 99 of them fail, but one of them takes off. Who knows?
Or 100 of them fail.
Yeah, 100 of them fail. That's not going to happen. Come on. Think positive thoughts, right?
I'm having fun either way. That's my point.
Exactly. Do what makes you happy in life. And don't worry, if someone tells you should be doing something different. Like follow your passions. I mean,
but understand you may just be an unlucky person.
You could be.
Yeah, it might not work out. That's okay.
What's the luckiest thing that's ever happened to you?
I'm going to say the luckiest thing that happened to me was being raised by my father.
Why is that?
My father gifted me with philosophy. So if you ever, see a philosopher in me, it comes from him. Being raised on the south side of Chicago in the Inglewood area, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and being a gang-affiliated individual, he's seen a lot and done a lot. He sees, big cities like Chicago a different way than I'll see them because, I'm a professional young person and I go and experience cities in a different way than he would have. But had my father not raised me by himself, and I was raised with my mother there, and I know my mother, and she was a young mother, and she didn't necessarily know any better, I don't believe I would have had the grit that you get being raised by a man. And my mother, she failed as a mother because I have a younger sister, who didn't get traction in life. And me being a father, I look at my son and I say, well, if he doesn't gain traction in life and find his purpose, I failed him. And fortunately, my father didn't fail me. So I say that, for that, I'm very lucky. It's the luckiest thing.
So hypothetically, your son doesn't succeed, and I have full confidence that he's going to, just based on everything you've said. And he's coming, to Texas this summer, and I actually hope to get to meet him at some point. But why do you feel that's your responsibility? Like if he doesn't succeed, because I mean, for example, you could have a parent raise the kids and invest in them the exact same way, but sometimes there are external factors that maybe weigh into it. Like, it could be a friend in high school that introduces them to drugs. And you can teach both kids the same thing,
Yep.
but temptation could roll in. And so you would feel that you failed as a father if you did everything in your power and there was nothing that you could do differently.
I take ownership of that because I didn't find a way to ensure. I may have communicated, but the onus is on me for him to comprehend.
Even if it's just a chance that something happens.
I still have to take ownership of that. He hasn't been here before.
Yeah.
All right. And it's on me to, in his formative years, to ensure that he can come back to me and I'm his like ultimate counsel. And I want to lay out the options before him and encourage him to make good decisions in life. I have a brother, he's the exact opposite of me. He's struggling in life, between drug use and, been in and out of, the judicial system since he was 12 years old, just, in front of a judge or in prison or in jail. I know it can go both ways, man. My father is an example of that. I just was fortunate that the way that my father knew to communicate, I was able to comprehend.
You're able to understand it.
My brother, my father failed him in that way because he understood things differently. So I understand, like, you can't raise two people the same way. Like, you got to communicate to these people different, just like any team. All right. People react and respond to different stimuli.
Yeah.
I got lucky.
Yeah.
I'm wired this way.
Well, sometimes you can only control what you can control. And I think if we're looking at me, biggest luck factor, and I've had this discussion with my dad before, and we'll probably talk about family at some point on the podcast.
Yeah.
More in depth.
One of the topics.
But you and I have had this discussion. My dad didn't graduate high school, and I didn't find that out until I was graduating high school myself. I think graduation day or after I graduated, he told me. But that doesn't mean that he didn't give my sister and I every opportunity we had to succeed. I mean, he wasn't someone making a ton of money, but him and my mom raised us in the Woodlands, Texas, which is a really nice community.
Mayberry.
And, and they ended up, I don't know, like everyone hears the stereotype, like, oh, you're from the Woodlands, you went to Baylor, you probably came from a lot of money. And the answer is no.
Yeah.
They got their house at like an auction for like $40,000, back in the late 80s, early 90s. And that was a little bit of luck to be able to be there. That enabled my sister and I to be in a great school district. We're going to talk about education on this podcast, hopefully sooner rather than later, but we were able to get a good education because of where we were born. And so you look at like all the statistics of having, two parents that aren't college educated, one parent that's not, doesn't even have a high school diploma, a mom who doesn't work, odds are, you might not be set up for what the world sees as success. But what I always look at is it was total luck that I was born in that situation, that my parents, were able to get the home. So we had a place that was stable, the entire time. But then if you look at the big picture, there's over 7 billion people on this planet. I could have been born anywhere.
Yep.
I might not even have made it, past birth. But how damn lucky was I to be born in Houston, Texas, rather than, I don't know, let's call it like communist China,
Yeah.
Like,
And born a male.
yeah. I mean, and white. Like I had, I don't know. If you like going to Vegas, I mean, you hit the jackpot. That's what that is.
I mean, we're all born winners up to a point.
Right.
And then, it's kind of downhill from there, uphill, I suppose, depending on how you're looking at it. I'm curious, Justin, do you have anything as you've been listening, that you'd like to add?
I think, Austin, you hit it on a lot of it. So much of our luck is from inception. What innate traits were we born with through our genetics? What location were we born in? What time period we were born in? We're all lucky enough now to be born, past the time of, the Middle Ages, through the Enlightenment, through all of these. We have antibiotics, we have electricity, we have clean water. All of those things that came before us are part of how fortunate we all are to live in the time we do, in the place we do. and to be in a society in the US where we're allowed to do so many things freely. And then in other places you're not. And then you start to, like you said, you start to trace back, where am I today? And how many things along that path, chance encounters, insignificant decisions that led to a significant outcome, and how they all get us here. You've both touched on so many that are really key. And we think about our families a lot. I think we can all go back to, how fortunate we were to have the parents had. Sometimes in some of the great things they contributed to us and some of the challenges they contributed to us, that adversity that DeRae talked about.
Yeah.
Adversity is a benefit. You grow from it. You get strength from it. And if you go through life without that adversity, you end up being very fragile. And those can make us and do make us who we are today.
Yeah, we could get cosmic with this, as far as luck goes. Yeah, I love the implications of luck because, they're cosmic in nature. Thinking about just the sheer existence of.
I can't even comprehend that. Like I don't know. Like,
yep.
This whole UFO thing with, that's going on right now with the U.S. government.
Billions of stars.
I went on a rabbit hole, and I was like, how many galaxies in the universe? And it was like it estimated that there was like between 1 and 32 billion or something like that.
No, they're up to 1 trillion. And something ridiculous.
I can't even comprehend that.
Yeah.
And then when you factor in like we were born here, I mean, who knows? We could be like peanuts compared to
in a simulation or something.
Yeah, we could be. I don't know. We could be in. I don't know. I don't even want to think about that. But yeah, Justin, that kind of reminds me. I read a book coming back from Charleston the other day. It was Malcolm Gladwell. It was The Bomber Mafia. And it was talking about decision making during World War II and strategy and
General LeMay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about my great grandfather. He was he flew decoy for the Enola Gay out in the Pacific theater. He also flew in the European theater. He was a navigator, and his brother was shot down, I think, over Europe and killed. Had he been shot down instead of his brother, I wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me is just, it's wild when you think about it. And I thought about that before, but just reading the book specifically about, bombers in World War II, it I don't know, that thought came to mind.
Yep.
It's random. Life is random.
We need to get out here and make our ancestors proud, right? They went through a bunch of vile times for us to be here. So for us to think that we're not built to endure, and do some things, and we can also take luck into account.
Yeah,
that'd be wild.
You know what else would be wild? The mayor of Houston followed us on social media, and he does.
Yes, Mayor Turner. Shout out to Mayor Turner. Thanks for the follow. Hope you enjoy the content.
I think that was my terrible way of trying to wrap up the episode.
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, that's it.
If you want to follow us on social, anything like that, just go to cautiouscoffee.com. If you want to get some merch, we've got t-shirts. Not all of them are pink. We've got white t-shirts. We've got black t-shirts, gray.
Yep, tank tops, coffee mugs.
Cautiouscoffee.com. There's a link on our website to buy it. And then also, if you want to join us on Patreon as well, we'd really encourage that you do that. And shout out to everyone that follows us and supports us on Patreon. And Justin, thank you for doing so as well. So Justin, do you have any parting words before we wrap this episode up?
I think I liked something that DeRae said earlier. Putting the work in for your own satisfaction, your own self-worth is really the important piece. And the success of that, positive, negative, whatever, is really where the luck comes in. So if you don't judge yourself by that, you judge yourself by what you feel is important, what you wanted to do, you're lucky.
I like it.
Yep. There's no burden, no cross to bear, baby.
I like it. Well, fun episode. Luck, opportunity, chance. DeRae, send us home.
I'm a huge, I'm a giant when it comes to ownership, but I also understand how lucky I am and how I have been. Awesome. The luck happens. Put in the work, but just don't be so overconfident and certain that it's all on you, right? Be appreciative of your circumstances and make good decisions, because when those opportunities come, you want to make sure that you make the right decisions to find yourself in a lucky situation.
Put yourself in the best opportunity to succeed. It
Position,
doesn't mean that you're going to succeed. You know, sometimes people have to discover you, but if you put in the work and you give yourself that opportunity,
Might work out, might not.
you at least increase your odds.
You get a chance to show up, and you get a chance to shine.
Good episode. I enjoyed it.
Agreed. Until next time.
I'll see you later.